Our story begins with a young boy named Ben, sitting beside his grandfather, listening wide-eyed as the old man tells him a tale of a hidden treasure. A treasure so secret, only a few even knew it existed. Years pass, and now Ben is all grown up. But that story never left him. Determined to uncover the truth, he teams up with a few trusted people and sets out to find it. Ben had a rough idea of where the treasure might be, thanks to the clues hidden in his grandfather's story. Before passing away, his grandfather had handed him a note. A note with just one mysterious name written on it. Ben figured out that the name written on the note belonged to an old ship. One of his friends, Riley, helped him track down its possible location. As they began their search, Ben calculated that the ship must be buried beneath a thick layer of ice. They dug for hours through the frozen sheet, and finally, they found it, the lost ship. Ben quickly shared the news with the team and thanked Ian, their partner, who had funded the entire expedition. Without Ian, this journey would have never been possible. For years, people had mocked Ben and his family, calling them crazy for chasing a treasure that no one truly believed existed. But now, standing before the legendary ship, Ben and his team stepped inside. As they explored the icy wreck, they stumbled upon a room filled with crates packed with gunpowder. As Ben searched more carefully, he discovered a dead body, its hand still clutching a sealed crate. Inside the crate was a small package. And inside that, just a pipe. Ben was puzzled. What could possibly be so special about this pipe, that someone had died holding onto it? That's when he noticed something. There was something written on the pipe. To read it, Ben did something desperate. He used his own blood to reveal the hidden text etched on the metal. As the words slowly became visible, Ben realized it was a clue. Another piece of the puzzle. But Ian wasn't impressed. After investing so much money and effort, all they had was a clue? That made him furious. Ben, however, managed to crack the riddle hidden within the clue. He revealed that it spoke of an invisible map, one that's hidden on the back of the most important document in American history, the Declaration of Independence. As soon as Ben mentioned how difficult and impossible it would be to even access that document, Ian looked at him and said coldly, "Then we steal it." Ben immediately refused and said, "I'm not going to let that happen." That's when Ian ordered his man, Shaw, to point a gun at Ben. But Ian also knew deep down that without Ben, there was no way they could solve the clues ahead. So instead, he threatened to kill Ben's friend, Riley. Before things could spiral any further, Ben lit a flare stick and warned everyone, if they didn't back off, he'd throw it on the crates full of gunpowder. At first, no one believed he'd actually do it. But then, Ben threw the flare. Just before it could hit the explosives, Ian caught it in the air. What Ian didn't realize, though, was that some gunpowder had already rubbed off on his hand. Suddenly, his hand caught fire. Shocked, he dropped the flare, and it landed right on the gunpowder. Realizing the ship was about to explode, Ian and Shaw made a run for it, leaving Ben and Riley trapped inside. But at the last moment, Ben discovered a hidden hatch, and he and Riley escaped just in time. The ship exploded behind them. Ian believed they were dead. Back in the city, Ben and Riley went straight to FBI headquarters and gave them a tip. Someone was planning to steal the Declaration of Independence in the coming days, but no one believed them. Ben and Riley then went to the National Archives Museum, where the document was being held. They tried to meet with the director, Abigail, but when they told her the story, and explained that there was a hidden map on the back of the document, Abigail didn't believe a word. She thought it was all nonsense. As they were leaving her office, they both stopped for a moment to gaze at the declaration. They stood there silently, staring. That's when Ben suddenly said, "We have to steal it, before Ian gets his hands on it." Riley immediately responded, "Steal it? Are you insane? Have you even seen the security here?" He then took Ben to the library and explained in detail just how secure the document really was. But Ben had a different plan. He said they needed to create a situation where the document would be moved to the preservation room, a location with much lighter security. Riley wasn't too confident in the plan, but he agreed to help anyway, so the two of them began carefully planning every step. First, they needed Abigail's fingerprints. Then, they had to steal the access codes to the preservation room. To do that, Ben sent Abigail a gift coated with a special chemical. When she pressed the button to hang up her coat, it would leave behind her fingerprints. At first, everything was going exactly as Ben had hoped. But on the other side, Ian was also preparing his own men for an attack, timed for the evening of a big gala at the museum. On the night of the party, the document was successfully moved to the preservation room. Ben disguised himself as a staff member and managed to enter the building without raising any suspicion. Once inside, he changed back into his normal clothes and went to meet Abigail. Abigail was surprised to see Ben. Ben lied and said he had made a huge donation to the museum. While she was distracted, he managed to steal her champagne glass, carefully preserving her fingerprints. Meanwhile, Ian and his men had also arrived at the museum. They entered through an underground tunnel. A little later, Ben reached the preservation room. But when Riley was monitoring him through the camera, one of Ian's men cut off their access. Ben decided to take the entire document frame and use the elevator to get it downstairs. As he stepped out, Ian and his men spotted him, and were stunned. They had assumed Ben was dead. The moment they saw him, they opened fire. But Ben shielded himself with the Declaration of Independence. The bulletproof glass surrounding it saved his life. He somehow managed to get into the elevator and remove the document from its protective casing. As he tried to sneak out, he caught Abigail's eye. She had already confirmed that Ben's name wasn't on the guest list. Ben hid in a museum gift shop, but as he tried to leave with the document, the cashier thought he was stealing one of the replica copies that were exactly the same size and on sale. She told him he'd need to pay for it or she'd call security. Trying to avoid attention, Ben quietly paid with a credit card, since he didn't have much cash. Just as he was walking out, Abigail spotted him again and started following him. When Ben placed the document into the back of Riley's van, Abigail confronted him. "What are you doing?" Seeing the document in Ben's hands, she realized what he had done. She started shouting. Ben, trying to calm the situation, handed the document back to her. But as she began to alert the police nearby, Ian saw her holding the document and sent his men after her. Ben tried to protect Abigail, but Ian's men managed to grab her and took her with them. Meanwhile, the museum guards discovered the real declaration had been stolen. The entire museum went into lockdown and the FBI was immediately notified. Inside the van, Ian told Abigail to hand over the document, but she flat out refused. Suddenly, something came in front of the van, and the driver swerved to avoid it. The sharp turn threw everyone inside off balance, and Abigail took the chance to escape. Though she didn't get far, she ended up hanging from the van's door. Ben and Riley, following close behind, sped up to help her. Soon, Ian managed to snatch the document from her. But right then, Ben pulled Abigail into Riley's van, saving her just in time. They drove off the main road to get away. When Ian finally opened the document, he realized it was a fake. Ben had tricked them and escaped. Abigail was furious. She couldn't believe Ben had stolen the declaration, and now it was in the hands of a criminal. But then, Ben revealed the real document. He explained that he had bought a replica, just in case something went wrong, the real one would stay safe. He also told her, "I only stole the document because, so that Ian couldn't steal it." Ben finished. He's desperate to find the treasure. Ben and Riley considered using a chemical to reveal the clue hidden on the back of the document, but Abigail strongly objected. She said doing so might damage it. Riley reassured her, saying they had no intention of harming the document. But the problem was, all the necessary equipment they needed was at Ben's apartment, and Ben couldn't go back there. He had used his credit card at the museum, and by now, the FBI had probably traced them and reached his place. As the group pulled over in the van to figure out their next move, Ben said there were a few important items at his home that could help with the treasure hunt, including letters written by a man named Franklin that were tied to the treasure. Ben remembered his father had copies of those letters, so he decided to go to his house. Abigail, still clutching the declaration, tried to walk away, but Ben stopped her. After a brief argument, she agreed to come along. She too wanted to see what this treasure was all about. Meanwhile, FBI agent Sadusky raided Ben's apartment. They found a lot of evidence, including the same letters Ben was talking about. Sadusky also instructed his team to locate Ben's family members. Soon, Ben arrived at his father Patrick's house. Patrick wasn't too happy. "All I ever wanted was for you to come visit me," he said, "but not just to talk about that damn treasure." Ben smiled and replied, "Well, that's exactly why I came. To visit you. Father and son, quality time. It'll be fun. Just hand me those letters real quick, and we'll hang out after that." Patrick was furious. "Don't you ever learn from other people's mistakes?" he snapped. "I wasted my whole life chasing that treasure. You really want to do the same?" He continued, "There is no treasure. This whole thing was made up, probably by our enemies, just to distract and mislead." But Ben didn't listen. Later, when they examined the back of the declaration, they discovered a set of strange codes, ones that seemed to connect directly to the letters they had come looking for. When Ben asked Patrick again for the letters, Patrick said, "I already donated them to a museum in Philadelphia." Without wasting any time, Ben, Abigail, and Riley left for Philadelphia. When the FBI arrived at Patrick's home, they found him tied to a chair. "My son tied me up like this," he muttered, "and he stole my car, too." Agent Sadusky immediately ordered his team to trace the vehicle's license plate. Meanwhile, Ian had started to put the pieces together. He realized that the clue they found on the ship was connected to those same letters. After some quick research, Ian discovered that copies of the letters were indeed in Philadelphia, and he left for the museum right away. At the museum, while Riley was trying to decode the next clue, a little boy approached him. To Riley's amazement, the kid solved all the codes with ease. As the boy was about to solve the final word, he accidentally bumped into Ian. Ian noticed the boy was solving something on a piece of paper and started following him. But by the time the boy returned to where Riley had been, Riley had already disappeared. Riley had actually figured out the final word on his own. He quickly rushed back to Ben and Abigail to share the decoded message he had uncovered from the letters. The three of them immediately got to work, trying to decode the next clue. After some analysis, they concluded that the message must be pointing toward the clock outside Independence Hall. Realizing this, the trio set out on their own, determined to find the next clue before anyone else could. Meanwhile, Ian had paid the young boy from the museum to learn exactly what he had told Riley. Now armed with that knowledge, Ian also headed straight for Independence Hall. There, Ben followed the direction of the clock's shadow and noticed a unique mark on one of the bricks in the wall. He removed the brick and found an old pair of spectacles hidden inside. This wasn't just any pair of glasses, it was something special. Ben rushed back to Abigail and Riley and showed them what he had found. He then put on the glasses and looked at the back of the Declaration of Independence. This time, he saw something new, a distinct symbol, and a short message written in faded letters near it. But just then, they spotted Ian and his men roaming the area. To avoid getting caught, they decided to split up. Abigail and Riley took the declaration and moved quickly, trying to stay ahead of Ian's team. While escaping, a bus suddenly came dangerously close to them, nearly hitting them. In the chaos, Ian managed to snatch the declaration away from them. Abigail and Riley immediately called Ben to inform him what had happened. Ben told them to meet him by the car right away. But by that time, the FBI had already found Ben's vehicle. As soon as Ben arrived at the meeting point, agents surrounded and arrested him. Abigail and Riley arrived a bit later, and seeing the FBI at the scene, they quietly slipped away. While in FBI custody, Ben told Agent Sadusky everything, how Ian had stolen the document and how they'd been solving clue after clue to stay ahead. When Sadusky looked at the strange old glasses found with Ben realized there might be another way to use them. Suddenly, Ben's phone rang. It was Ian. The FBI asked him to put it on speaker. Ian threatened Ben, demanding he bring the glasses to a public location, and warned that if Ben informed the FBI, his friends wouldn't survive. The FBI didn't want to lose the chance to catch someone like Ian. They told Ben to go meet him as planned. Meanwhile, they placed agents all around the area. But when Ben arrived to meet Ian, it turned out to be a trap. Ian's men ambushed the meeting, overpowered the agents, and broke Ben out. On the way, Abigail called Ben and told him she had made a deal with Ian to help free him. But in exchange, Ben would have to lead them to the treasure. Later, when Ian and Ben met again, Ian handed back the declaration, and the old pipe they had found on the ship. Then Ian demanded the next clue. Ben hesitated, saying he didn't have anything and didn't know what to do next. But Ian revealed something shocking. He had kidnapped Ben's father, Patrick. With no choice left, Ben confessed what he had seen on the map through the special glasses, a church symbol. Soon after, Ben, Ian, and the others reached the church. Ben once again used the unique spectacles to examine the map. This time, it revealed an entirely new clue. The name revealed on the map was strange and confusing. No one could figure out what it meant, until they realized it referred to a burial site beneath the church. Ian and his team immediately headed underground. Patrick quietly whispered to Ben, "We need to find a way to get rid of Ian. The only reason we're still alive is because he needs us. Once we're no longer useful, he'll kill us." Just then, Ian called Ben and demanded the next clue. They used the name from the map to locate a marked wall and broke through it. Behind it was a long tunnel. Ian ordered Ben to lead the way. As they ventured inside, they discovered a centuries-old underground chamber that hadn't been opened in what looked like forever. There were fragile wooden staircases and even an old elevator shaft. Patrick warned everyone, "These wooden steps are dangerous. No one's been down here in years. They could collapse." But Ian insisted everyone move forward. As they climbed down, the stairs suddenly gave way. A section broke, and Shaw fell to his death. The entire staircase began to crumble, forcing the rest of them to leap onto the elevator platform to survive. The elevator carried them down into an empty room. Ian angrily demanded to know where the treasure was. Ben pretended he had no idea. In frustration, Ian threatened to leave them all down there to die. That's when Patrick stepped in and said, "The next clue is inside that lantern. There's one just like it in a church in Boston. Maybe the treasure's there." Ian, convinced, left them behind. "Once I find the treasure, I'll come back for you. Maybe," he said smugly. Riley, panicked, exclaimed, "We're gonna die down here." But Ben and Patrick then revealed they had lied to Ian. The lantern was a decoy. They continued searching and found another hidden clue that led them to a new room. When they entered, the place looked like someone had already been there. Ben felt disheartened. He turned to Patrick and said, "You were right. Maybe there's no treasure after all." But Patrick replied, "Don't lose hope. It just means someone else got here first." Still unwilling to give up, Ben inspected the walls carefully. That's when he spotted a set of locks. One of them was missing a piece. The missing part matched the exact shape of the pipe they had found on the ship. Ben inserted the pipe into the lock, turned it, and a hidden door swung open. Behind it was the treasure. An entire room glittered with gold coins, ancient artifacts, priceless jewelry, and old books. It was everything Patrick and his father had spent their whole lives searching for. Everyone stood in awe, overwhelmed with joy. After looking around, they finally discovered a staircase that led back to the surface. Ben was the first to climb out. He spotted a man nearby and borrowed his phone to call Agent Sadusky. Within minutes, Sadusky arrived. Ben told him everything, including the location of the treasure, and added, "I don't want any of it." But Ben had a few conditions. Abigail shouldn't face any charges. Full credit for the discovery should go to his family. Riley should receive a fair share of the treasure, and most importantly, Ben must not go to jail. Sadusky agreed to all of Ben's terms. Soon after, Ian was arrested while trying to break into a church in Boston. Within a few days, the treasure was distributed to museums all over the world. One day, the team was seen celebrating together, but Riley looked a bit annoyed. He asked Ben, "Why did you turn down all that government reward money?" Abigail added, "Seriously, you could have taken at least a little." Ben just smiled and gave no answer. As Riley drove off in his brand new car, it was obvious he'd been paid well. And finally, we learned that Ben and Abigail got married and moved into their new home together. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.